We're live here at the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal.
That would make me terrible, Troy.
And returning here, director of Genre Favorite Society, Bride of Reanimator, The Dentist, Beyond Reanimator, and all kinds of cool stuff, including Return of the Living Dead Part 3. It's great to have you back here, Brian Yuzna.
Hello.
Hello. And that'll be playing this Saturday at Shockagogo Film Festival. And I'll have all the information on the website. You can click on it. It's in LA. I've got the website. People can get tickets. And our friend Anastasia Elfman will be doing a burlesque opening of the show. If you can explain what that entails.
If I can explain it, I think you better ask her.
All right. We should have had Anastasia on as well.
I'll just say that.
Yeah, I believe she's going to eat your brain.
It'll be sexy and it'll be bloody.
Kind of like ask for more than that.
Much like Return of the Living Dead Part 3.
There you go.
Yeah. So when you first got involved in Return of the Living Dead 3, was the script the same script that you ended up making? Or did it...
There wasn't a script.
Okay.
It actually had kind of a complicated beginning, and I won't really go into it much, but I was working with a couple of other producers, Denitza Miner and Joel Castleberg, and their agent, they had a big time agent, had told them that that they had the right, they could make the sequel, the second sequel to Return of the Living Dead, and Part 3. And they contacted me, and I was kind of working with them, and we had another company involved, and we were actually interviewing writers, getting pitches, because it was just a property that Joe Wolf had. So he owned the sequel rights, and there wasn't any, I think the second one underperformed pretty seriously. And so the value of it kind of cratered, which is why I could get involved. And but then it turned out that they didn't have the rights. But by that time, I was working with the owner of Trimark Pictures. Trimark ended up being joining up with Lionsgate. So that company is now, all the Trimark stuff is Lionsgate now. But when they were Trimark, the head of it, Mark Amin, I'd been working over there, and I was going to direct Warlock 2, and I was involved with the script. We were working on the story and the treatment. And then he one day came and said, hey, I got the rights to Return of the Living Dead 3. Would you like to do that? I said, sure, I'd rather do that. And so I just moved over from Warlock to Return of the Living Dead 3, and we didn't have a story. So I took pitches. Writers came and gave. The only thing I knew was that I wanted the main character to be a zombie, a living dead. Mm-hmm. And the reason was, one, because believe it or not, this is like 1992 or 1 or something. I thought there'd been too many zombie movies. What are you going to do now? Right. And well, what you do is you have a big TV show in which it's basically a soap opera with special effects. Uh-huh. So I thought, well, if the main character was a living dead, that would change the dynamic. You wouldn't be in the same, in the same world. And then also I had made Bride of Reanimator, and I had regretted that I didn't bring the bride on until the end of the movie. Because when I finally finished the movie, I thought, God, she's the best character in the movie. And I didn't have enough confidence. I didn't know what to do with her. So I just had her show up at the end like the Bride of Frankenstein.
Like the original movie, yeah.
Yeah, and so then I thought, well, I want that character to be the character. I want it to, that to be the dynamic. And in getting pitches, one guy came in to pitch. His name was John Penny, and he had the idea of this Romeo and Juliet story where the kid's father is working for the government and they're making these bio weapons out of the living dead. And I just thought it was a great idea. And he kind of told the opening scene, which is pretty much the scene that we see at the opening, where the skinny
lab, yeah,
guy, and they have the rifle that freezes them, and there's the argument about whether you should freeze them or put, mechanical cages on them to control them. All that was part of his pitch. And so we started with that, and over a few weeks of late night meetings, we just developed it into the movie that you've seen.
Yeah. Was there any guidelines, like any hard guidelines from Trimark, like you have to include, trioxin, or or don't do certain things?
Well, what I knew was that, first of all, one reason I was real excited to do it was because for me it was a sequel to two movies that I really, really like and think are real important. And one of them is the movie that I think began the modern age of horror, which is Night of the Living Dead. And the other one was Dan O'Bannon's version of how you do EC horror comics on screen. Up until that time, comic books were done like the Batman TV show, or they were done like Creep Show, where they actually do actual pages of a comic book and like these, primary colors and stuff. Mm-hmm. What Dan O'Bannon did was show everybody that this is how EC comics are. It's full of stuff like brain eating and decapitations and infidelity and people killing. Those were, I read horror comics before I ever saw a horror movie, because I grew up in the 50s. And so I bought those kind of magazines. Well, after Return to the Living Dead, then Joel Silver knew how to make Tales from the Crypt. Without Return to the Living Dead, nobody would have known how to do it. They just had Dan O'Bannon showed us. And that movie was just so much fun, with just gratuitous sex and nudity and gore and fun and ridiculous stuff, but really horrific stuff. Yeah. I actually visited the set of Return of the Living Dead when they were shooting it. But anyway, so I thought that, Return of the Living Dead existed because the writer of Night of the Living Dead, John Russo, he ended up with the name Living Dead, but he didn't have any rights to the sequels. So George Romero had to make Dawn of the Dead, not Dawn of the Living Dead, and Day of the Dead, not Day of the Living Dead. And that was sort of one track. Those were the official sequels to Night of the Living Dead. But Return of the Living Dead was sort of the alternate sequel. And the second one, of course, they kind of went crazy with like having characters that were already dead back.
Yeah, and they even reference like, oh, this is like deja vu, and
And then they tried, and that was because it was financed by Japanese companies, which I was very familiar with, because Bride Reanimator and Society were both financed by Japanese companies.
Oh, okay.
And so for me, when I watched the second one, I realized they had tried to make it funny, in a way.
Yeah, it's really overtly it's an overt comedy as opposed to the first one, which has comedy but still a horror movie.
Well, it has comedy because they're having so much fun.
Right.
I understand because when I was working with Stuart Gordon and Dennis Paoli on Reanimator, when we were developing it, we were just laughing out loud because we were having so much fun with it. It wasn't meant to be a comedy. It did have comedic irony, because Stuart can't not have fun with something. Generally, he's better when he does. And it was we just had fun with the whole idea of it, but it was played straight. People, actors weren't mugging comedy lines.
Yeah. And
I think when you put when you go to comedy forward, now it's starting to be a comedy horror movie, Saturday the 15th, or Saturday the 14th, or, those kind of almost parody type movies. But I think the way Dan did it is he just had a hell of a lot of fun with it, and it was funny. And you couldn't take when they're running around saying, send more paramedics. But then you had those scenes in the autopsy table, and that's not funny at all, So I thought that the second one, they went too consciously that way, and it didn't work. I mean, it's the term is underperform. It didn't do as well as it's supposed to, so it took the value away from the next sequel. So when I was able to do it, and nobody, I thought, wow, I get to make the second sequel to the alternate sequel to the movie that defined the modern age of horror.
Yep.
That's like I have a friend whose cousin knows so and so. So anyway, I did ask them what they wanted, because I'd seen the second one, and I said, do I have to put the actors from the other one? No, you don't. Do I have to put characters from the other one? No, not necessary. I said, well, does it have to be funny? And they said, nope. And I said, well, what are the rules? What do I have to do? Said, you got to have the trioxin and you got to have brain eating. And honestly, that's the only guidance they gave, or only kind of borders they put to it. So that meant for me, I don't know why I didn't want to go funny with it, because I certainly like doing that in Bride of Reanimator. It's too overtly funny, that movie. But even Society, the shunting is pretty funny, So I do like that. But for some reason, I don't know why, I just didn't want to. And so I thought, and then when I thought of the brain eating, I went, oh no, the brain eating is like, it's a goof, So then I tried to figure out the logic that would make brain eating okay. The trioxin is fine, with George Romero in Living Dead 1 and the Dead sequels, I think in the first movie they said there was something came from outer space.
Yeah, it's like it's referenced on TV, like when they're watching the news.
Something's happening. Yeah. And then in Day of the Dead, it had the greatest tagline I ever saw in a horror movie, which was, when hell is full, the dead will walk the earth.
Oh, yeah.
That to me is horror movie. That's what I like. And I like macabre. I don't need to make the thing scientific or anything like that. But I love that idea. And actually, I think in the original Night of the Living Dead, which was, in some ways inspired by I Am Legend, I think people make too big of a deal about it. But in I Am Legend, you die and then you come back as a vampire. And as we know from Anne Rice, a vampire is merely a zombie with good taste. Remember an Interview with the Vampire? The vampire goes looking for other vampires, goes to Eastern Europe, and finds all these vampiric ghouls that are out eating dead bodies. And he's disgusted by them, and then he ends up going to Paris to the gay night, the gay theater, where all they take is the blood, you know, and they have style. And so I think that's pretty true, that zombies and vampires are opposite sides of the same coin. And that so I kind of feel like with the Return of the Living Dead, we had the gas. So Dan O'Bannon took away any doubt. And then, of course, because he was a big pothead, he decided that it was the government made a gas to eradicate marijuana, and it turned out to bring people back to life. That was his little dig.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that I tried to think of how I could have a logic to the brain eating. Because the brain eating's a goof. It's a comic book goof. So I decided that in the Night of the Living Dead, they're just like cannibals, because that's what horrible people do. They
Why not? Right?
Yeah, that makes them real bad.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, what I came up with was that when you're dead, and this is coming off of Dan O'Bannon's movie, it hurts.
Yeah.
You're aware, you're alive, you're mobile, but you feel that, but you're not growing. You're just decaying. You're just decaying, and you feel it. And the first thing that decays are your nerves. That's the finest part of your physical body. And so I decided that the reason they were chewing flesh was they're trying to get the nerves, not the flesh, not the blood, not the meat, not the skin, but the nerves. And most of them are right up here. And so that gave me an argument for, well, that's why they want to eat brains. So that took care of that part of it. And then, of course, I made that a centerpiece of the whole movie by having Julie wanting to eat brains, and even rigging herself up as like a brain eater, where she had a rock that she would never lose to crack the shell. Yeah. And then she had claws to rip out the brains to eat them. And so I thought, well, that'll give us something to design her around, because I wanted to make a horror character, you know, a horror character that I hadn't seen before. Mm-hmm. And so that's what the idea with Julie was, to try to make this kind of a classic horror character.
Yeah, and I think that kind of fits the Romero world, where the zombies are starting to evolve. And then that's kind of an evolution, because she's like actually creating like weapons that are useful for her. Yeah.
Yeah. In Bride of Reanimator, West says they're using weapons, Dan. So, but in Return of the Living Dead, it's not really, that's not a big deal. It's not, you know, there's different levels of dumbness with the zombies, and Julie is our main character, so we're seeing her evolution. Mm-hmm. And then I thought the idea that by eating the brains, it gets rid of the hunger, it gets rid of the pain. So she's in pain, and if she eats the brains, it relieves the pain. But hold on a second.
Yeah, no problem. Hit the like button out there, and I see some questions, so I'll get to them in a moment. Sure.
No, I'm on a Zoom.
What was that noise just now?
I don't know, but I'm on a Zoom now. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, the idea was to set her up as a tragic romance, and that the pain would go away with love and with brain eating. So she was pulled in both directions.
Yeah, it adds weight. I think it adds a lot of weight.
No.
Yeah, it adds a lot of weight to the character in the movie. It's not just you've got the silliness of people eating brains, but there's also a lot more to it. Bobby Lowe's wants to know, how was Melinda Clarke introduced to casting?
Well, she, back then that movie was cast just like most of the movies I've ever done, which is you basically break down the script and send it to you send it to a breakdown service. And back then it was they had a little newspaper, the casting newspaper, and also the Hollywood Reporter. And you would just list the characters with like a one-line description, and people send in headshots. Agents send in headshots. You have a casting director who shuffles through them, and a casting director's job is to keep up with all the actors in town. So a casting director will go to all the theater things and watch TV and keep up on who's coming up. And especially for a movie like this, where you can't really afford any names or anything, you're not, this is a low budget movie. You're not casting so much by like a big movie where they're saying, hey, who can we get? What would be a nice, kind of team at the top to bring people in. The star of this movie is the title, unfortunately, and which is a mouthful. Return of the Living Dead 3. That was the worst thing to have to be saddled with, because it just didn't have its own identity, And then so we were just looking for good actors, and we got submissions. And then the casting director will then have people come in and you'll meet with them. And then at one point come get some choices to give to the director or producers, whoever is part of the casting team. In this case, it was basically me, and I don't know who was with me in casting. Maybe there probably might have been an executive from Trimark, maybe. But I would run this, it's not like there's nobody, it's not a big studio where you have a whole big team doing the casting. It's just you, and then you see people. And when Melinda Clarke came in, she had just done, I think she'd been in a play playing Nancy in Sid and Nancy.
Oh, okay.
So the idea was to play Julie kind of like a drug addict, someone who is kind of far gone drug addict. It's sort of the same dynamic. She's getting to be animalistic, and he's trying to keep her from it through his affection. And so that, that gave the whole core, that's sort of the core of the movie, outside the plot. But she came in, she was killer, and she just did a great job.
Yeah, she's amazing in the movie. Did you have any interaction at all with Dan O'Bannon, like before the movie or while you're making it?
I had dealt with Dan. No, I had dealt with Dan before that, a few years before that, on a project called, it must have been in 84, 85. So it was a while before. And I did spend a year working with him developing a project called The Men, which was about a woman who discovers that all men are alien. Now, that doesn't work today because gender is fluid, right? But back then, it would have been a hell of a good ride.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I did, but I never talked to Dan specifically about this movie. Mm-hmm. And I didn't talk to John Russo. I didn't talk to, George Romero. I don't know. It was sort of made in a vacuum.
Yeah. How about after it comes out? Like, do you know if like
I
Dan
didn't
liked
hear
it?
from any of those people.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of came and went. It was supposed to. Trimark had just started doing theatrical, and they released their first theatrical film, and it was a big hit called The Leprechaun.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so they thought that, every company that puts out a film and is successful, they think they've discovered something.
Mm-hmm.
And they are not, they've escaped the 1 in 10 rule, which is if you make 10 movies, one of them will make some money. And basically the movie business is a business of hits. A hit makes up for all the underperformers, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't, then we ended up coming after Warlock 2. And so Warlock 2 got the huge push coming on, after Leprechaun. And they put it out big time in theatrical, and it underperformed. Didn't do it. So they lost a lot of money with the marketing.
Yeah.
And so when Return 3 came out, they were kind of like, they had been burned.
Wow.
And they just put it in like 10 markets and went to video, because it made good, you make good money on video.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if the movie, they just didn't have the money. They didn't really have the ability to do theatrical. I think the movie could have held up theatrically, but I'm not sure that you wouldn't have to change the name.
I was going to ask about that. Do you think that was a plus or a minus, actually having?
Well, it was a plus because it got the movie made.
Right.
In Europe, they changed the name. I know in Spain it's called Mortal Zombie. They didn't. But then Return of the Living Dead was a very popular movie. It was a big hit. Mm-hmm. And so then it also kind of suffered from that because people expected something like the first movie or the second movie, and it wasn't. And so it's mixed. On the one hand, it would have brought people to the theater, but on the other hand, if they came expecting the fun romp of Return of the Living Dead, they're not going to get it. So then you're kind of selling one thing, and it's sort of a bait and switch or something. And the fact that it had Return and a numeral in the title, I just don't think that's a good idea. I just don't think.
It is. Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's like how far down in the sequels is this?
Something I noticed, and I never really noticed before, but the first one's The Return of the Living Dead, and then the sequels are Return of the Living Dead without the. Is there any reason for that?
Well, for me, I always called it Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah.
But I don't know that the is great. Generally, I never called it the Reanimator.
Yeah, me neither. I
yeah,
only noticed because when I was looking up, just like pictures.
The Society. I call it Society.
Yeah.
Now, I did call it The Dentist.
Mm.
Right? So that's, it's a little different. It's one.
Yeah, I think dentist doesn't sound quite right.
Yeah.
But,
so I don't know. It's sort of a situational thing. I think it would just be, why have the extra word in there?
yeah, you've already got enough words.
Yeah, it's got enough words, right?
Not just because you're here, but Return of the Living Dead 3 is much better than Leprechaun, in my opinion. But I go on with
I want me gold.
Yeah, that pretty much sums that one up. The whole franchise, boom. You don't need any more.
I actually, at one point, was going to direct Lep in the Hood.
That's probably the best of the franchise.
Yeah,
I
think it
wasn't
is.
very confident. I just didn't. I didn't feel like I was the right guy to do Lep in the Hood. I'm just not. I just feel like I would have mucked it up badly.
Yeah, I'm nothing against you. I just don't. You don't scream like street cred. So I don't know if you're from the hood or not. But.
No, it's not. No, I'm just saying it because of because I'm not familiar with
Yeah.
East LA stuff, right? So now I wouldn't. What was it? Tales from the Dark Side? Wasn't that all black horror?
Oh, that was
Tales
Tales from the Hood.
Huh?
Tales from the Hood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And who was it that directed it? It was a black.
Oh, it was Rusty Cutliff, I believe.
Yeah, and I think somebody like that should do.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
don't want to be trying to figure out. I know the guy who shot Return of the Living Dead 3, Jerry Lively. He also shot. He shot Friday Night. Remember that black movie?
Oh,
comedy? Yeah, really a good one. But he didn't have to do the story part of it.
Right.
I think it's a little bit. I don't know. I didn't feel confident, especially on a real low budget level. And I knew how the movie had to be made. It had to be just like quickly. Let's get a script. Let's shoot the movie. And I guess if I had tried, in Return 3, I did have the gang, the Hispanic, the Chicano gang.
Yeah.
Well, on that, it was, of course, what Trimark wanted is they said, they wanted it to be like the Mod Squad. They wanted to have a gang of like, a punk kid and a black kid and an Asian, that sort of, that salad.
A little bit of everybody, right?
That's not the way downtown LA is.
No,
I don't know if any gangs are that way.
That's not really the dynamic of most gangs.
Yeah, and so anyway, I went at least with ideally you do it with black gang, it's Crips or something. But I did Hispanic because that was more acceptable to the studio. But when I did that, we cast it, but then I had the I think there were 4 of them. Mike Moroff was the big guy, and Sal Lopez was one, and I had them improvise their scenes.
Okay.
And we kind of had, of course, we had a script, but when it came down to to like the chatter and everything, we worked it out so that they were doing what they felt comfortable doing, what they knew. And I think it works because it's when you see the gang, I feel like I don't get my antenna don't go up like, oh, this is bullshit. I feel like, this is kind of a cool dynamic.
Yeah.
It's going to feel a lot more natural that way to let them kind of do their own lingo.
Exactly. And we talked over the scene and how, they're closer to it. That's all, so I'm not saying they're from the hood, but I'm just saying that they're going to be a little closer to it. And I don't want to be putting words in their mouth that comes off false,
Bobby wants to know, can you tell me a little bit about working on Necronomicon?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Most movie makers, especially genre ones, all want to do compilation movies. They want to do those Torture Garden or the Amicus type movies. Dead of Night, those classics. Everybody loves the compilation movie except the audience. The audience doesn't want to have anything to do with them. But the way Necronomicon came about was it was a financing scheme I had come up with, where I thought that I could finance a movie if I got half the money from Europe and half the money from Asia, and then I could own North America. So this was my scheme. And because I went to the markets and I knew people in all these different countries. So then I was working with Japanese at that time. I think I was producing The Guyver, which was actually the first anime or manga that was ever made into
a live action
movie, into a Hollywood movie. It's the first time. And
that's a pretty wild movie too. I definitely like it.
Crazy, Screaming Mad George and Steve Wang. I mean, that's quite a team.
Yeah.
But so I was dealing with Japanese because it was all coming from Japan. The rights, I was just producing it for them. And of course, we developed the script. I hired the writers and all that. But so I was dealing with Japanese. And so I came up with this. I thought if I could do a trilogy of Lovecraft stories, which, because I had done some Lovecraft, so that was something I could sell. And then the producer from the European country could nominate his own director. And the director could do whatever Lovecraft story he wanted and have his own writer. And so then the same goes with the Asian producer. So I got the Asian, my friend Take Chise, who was involved, who I was working with. He's also, you would know Taka because he's the guy who created J-horror.
Mm-hmm.
So if you remember when the first one was The Ring, and then, Taka showed me the treatment for The Ring, and I said, "What, a videotape? What are you talking about?" But he's the producer of all of them: The Ring, the Grudge, the Dark Water, all of those things, and he was involved with the remakes, the American remakes. So he really was a real important producer for Japan and for horror movies, really, because J-horror was really something for a while. But anyway, he jumped on. He said, "Well, I'll put up. I can raise the money, and I've got a director I want to use, Shisuke Kaneko, who later did all the Gamera movies."
Oh wow!
And did the Death Note. If you know Death Note, it's a TV show kind of. Oh no, I think they made a feater out of it. It was
they did on Netflix. They did a live action one. Yeah.
So Shisuke and then I was kind of having a hard time finding another producer. And actually, at that time, I was working with an agent over at ICM, and he sent me around proposals for directors. And I'm embarrassed to tell you who he sent. Roberto Rodriguez and Guillermo.
Oh wow!
Wow!
But see, they're not European, so they didn't fit my scheme.
Yeah.
And
good eye for talent.
Was when Roberto Rodriguez actually just did that no budget version of what was the name of his first one?
Yeah, it's not El Dorado. It's what is it called?
Anyway, you know what I'm talking about.
El Mariachi. El Mariachi.
El Mariachi, yeah. And I think Guillermo del Toro had just done his first movie, which was the one with the clock, the clockwork. What was the name of it?
Oh.
It was like a vampire kind of thing. Mexican movie.
Yeah.
Was that not The Devil's Backbone?
No, that's later. He did that in Spain. So anyway, so I was kind of at short ends because I didn't have the other half of the money. And luckily, I was delivering Guyver. The French distributor of Guyver had called me. This was during the LA riots when they shut down the city. And he wanted to borrow the negative out of the lab. So I was dealing with them. And then he asked me if I had any other, manga type properties. And at that time, I had been given a stack of like, VHSs from Dhaka to make movies out of. They had all the properties.
wow.
There were a lot of famous animes, and one of them was Crying Freeman. And so Samuel Hadida, the head of the French company, said, "Well, what do you got?" I mentioned a few different ones, and I said Crying Freeman, and he perked up. He said, "Wow, I've been 2 years trying to get the rights to Crying Freeman."
Wow.
And I don't know if you know the movie, but it's about a Yakuza, a triad guy. It's triad versus Yakuza. And then there's the Freeman, this Japanese guy. He's got kind of a big tattoo of a dragon with a gun and a knife in his whole body. And it's like it's a martial arts type of thing, gangster. And he said, "I've been trying to get that." And I said, "Well, I've got the rights if you want to do it." And he said, "Well, I've got a director that wants to do it. I want him to do it, Christoph Gans." And I said, "What's he done?" And he says, "Well, he did some short film in school or something. He was a critic in France." So I told him I said, "Well, listen, I don't think the Japanese are going to accept him as a director, but here's an idea. I've got a slot for a compilation movie. And if you want to put up half the money, you can pick your own director, and the Japanese are already involved. And if Christoph does a good job, then he'll prove himself. And if he doesn't, he'll be glad you didn't invest in a whole movie, Mm-hmm. And so that's how it came together.
Wow.
And then each one of them got their own. Christoph could speak good English. Shusuke could not. So he was pretty rough. And then I directed the third one, and I did the wraparound. And then I got their scripts and had a friend of mine, Brent Friedman, polish the scripts with the directors, have so that they all fit together as a regular Hollywood movie, and things didn't poke out, and the language was fine and all that. And so then we just produced them all kind of we kind of checkerboarded. We had 2 DPs, kind of 2 crews. We did one and right into the other, so each director had a DP and a production designer to work with, and an AD, so they weren't waiting in line, And I must say, it's I wish I owned that movie. I think if nobody's seen it, because when we sold it, it was bought by New Line, and they didn't do nothing with it. They did nothing. So basically, the movie's never been seen, and it's too bad. It's not, of course, it's uneven, but God, it's got some great stuff in it. Yeah, you got Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs, you can't ask for more than that.
And we got a picture of H.P. Lovecraft, had the makeup guys give him Lovecraft's nose and chin. And so he's still Jeffrey Combs, but he just kind of looks cool being Lovecraft.
Yeah.
It was sort of like Lovecraft as as an action hero, which I always thought was a fun idea.
Yeah.
That Lovecraft really did go into these worlds.
Yeah. What is it about Lovecraft that he's very influential to all the horror for the last 50 years, but it seems like he's really risen, I think, in the last 10 years. There's a lot more stuff about him. There's the HBO show.
I think people are just looking for a brand that they don't have to pay for.
Yeah.
I think and he's much more, you can do much more with Lovecraft than say, what's his name with Dracula?
Bram Stoker.
Yeah, Bram Stoker. Dracula and the White Worm and all that is really, he did some, didn't he do some Egyptian thing, mummy thing, or, he wrote great stuff, but it's once you do those, they're done.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Lovecraft he just created this whole world of weird shit. You know, it's really it's sort of like maybe one of the first like universes. You know how they do the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't know if you've seen the last so-called Mission Impossible movie, but they're trying to make that.
Oh, really?
Put them all together into some weird AI universe.
Oh, geez.
It's a little embarrassing, but I mean, when you have a movie where Tom Cruise not only introduces the movie to the audience, we crafted this just for IMAX, but he also, and then most of the movie is him in various stages of undress, straining wetly against forces and fighting. And by the end, he is literally God. So, Scientology is a powerful force.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, it's that multiverse type. That's that Marvel universe type of idea. And I think fans like that.
Everyone tries to copy it. It doesn't really work so much for anyone else.
It's hard. It's hard, but I think with Lovecraft, you have that world. You don't have to tie everything into it. You don't have to create it. It's just that you've got all these gods and you've got all these, forces and he has all these situations. I'm not, his stories are not that shootable, but the situations have a lot of possibilities. Now, for example, I think Reanimator, there's 6 stories, and they're not Lovecraftian. They're not Lovecraftian. They are more like the monkey's paw. They're real tradition. Those stories are traditional, people crawling out of graves type story, but he's got a mad doctor to it. But that's not what we think of as Lovecraft. Lovecraft, we think of cosmic horror, Cthulhu. We think of, he sort of did horror without religion, and I think that so Reanimator isn't Lovecraftian, but it's something you can easily shoot because there's 6 episodes, and you can see this. Basically, the narrator is helping West, and he kind of goes nuts at the end, right? And so you still have to add the story to it. With Dagon, for example, that's based on the Shadow over Innsmouth. Now that's an actual story. It's one of the few, I think, because after Reanimator, I read all the Lovecraft I could read.
A lot of them are real short. That's the weird thing, I think, when I got to them,
Yeah, and I remember reading them before I got into movies because I read horror. I read, through all my childhood and my teenage years, and I was a horror fan, a horror movie fan, horror comics fan. Ghost stories, fantastic stuff, Harryhausen, anything fantastical. And I read Bram Stoker's Dracula. I read Frankenstein. I read, The Island of Dr. Moreau. All those.
I just read that recently, actually. Yeah.
Well, I read the stuff that that's the big stuff, and I must say that Dracula totally delivered for me. The first, especially Jonathan Harker's journal, which is the first part of the book, and it's all found footage. If you notice, everything in Dracula it's somebody's journal, a newspaper, something like that, but it's real horror. Now with Frankenstein, I was baffled. It just seemed like the most boring book I'd ever read. And then with Lovecraft, I started by reading those short stories. It always seemed like the guy, right when the monster is going to appear, he faints.
Yeah, you're so right. Yeah.
You know, and I'm going, I don't know about that, you know. So, but I think after, all I remember about Lovecraft was that in the 70s, there was a band called H.P. Lovecraft, a rock and roll band. And so when we made Reanimator, I had never read the stories when Stuart Gordon suggested making a movie out of that. He already had developed a pilot for a TV show. Back then, it was like ABC, NBC, CBS. And I liked the idea of Reanimator. When I read it, I said, yeah, I love this shit. But I didn't want to do TV. I wanted to do a movie. And luckily, I was dealing with a guy who just loved to shock people and had been directing theater for 10 years and successfully. And I was paying for it. So I wanted it. I was a horror fan, and I knew that with horror movies, I know I'm a horror fan because I'm a movie fan. I love every kind of genre if they're good. But with horror, I like the crap too.
Yeah. That's why I think they withstand the test of time. You're like a bad drama is lost. Yeah.
I'll sit and watch a crappy horror movie and have a good time, but I don't want to watch a crappy romantic comedy.
Right.
It doesn't give me any charge. So anyway, I was all for it, but I knew that if the movie was no good, and I was risking, everything I had, I figured you better make it sexy and gory, going all the way. Because by God, if the movie's no good, at least I know there's an audience that will go for that, Mm-hmm. And so I was with just the right guy, because all Stewart ever wanted to do was shock people. The first time he got any notoriety, he was in college directing a theater performance. This is back in the hippie era. A theater performance of Peter Pan with all the actors naked throughout. And the cops took him to jail. And so there was a picture of him and the notoriety of it, and he loved it. And I think he was always trying to get back to being shocking, outrageous. So it was right. I mean, it was lucky, because otherwise I'd probably still be paying off the debts.
It's still one of my favorite movies, Reanimator. So the ending of Return of the Living Dead 3. Did anyone try to talk you out of it, like to have either like something that's more up in the air, or like a more like uplifted, like maybe they live, or was that always like they're going to die at the end?
No, nobody ever. I knew that they had to die because it's a love story, a tragic love story, so they can't live. That's that. I never thought there was any. That never came up. I know that the writer wanted to, have them burn and then show the ashes going up in the air. But that's how the first movie ended.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
When they blow it up.
And then it starts to rain.
And I think his title for the movie was Ashes to Ashes, which to me was too artistic, But I just wanted to end on a high note. I didn't want to go through all that kind of soft landing. I thought you want to end when they're just at the height of it all.
Oh yeah, and what
So
a
for
bang!
me, the ending is just right. And there was never, it's funny. That movie, and I must say it has a lot to do with the writer John Penny, because we worked together from the beginning, from his pitch. And we also, I storyboarded the whole movie. I didn't, but I had 2 or 3 different storyboard artists, and I did storyboards for the whole movie. And then when we did location scouting, I would have the storyboards adjusted for the locations, and John was involved with that. And he also was on the set he's in the movie. He gets killed by a zombie. He would sit there right at the video monitor, and and just be constantly whispering in my ear if somebody forgot an and or a the, Not really, but he was kept on top of it, so it was real valuable, and so he was really, really involved in the movie, and so we were as we got locations, as we did storyboards, we would back engineer the script, which isn't so common. Often the movie, you don't know what it's going to end up like. You've got ideas going into it, but with these low budget things, you really don't have the chance to take the time or to fix things if they're broke, and often you're just not really that prepared anyway. But with Return to the Living Dead 3, I think almost more than almost any other movie I did, I had a book of the storyboards, and on one side I would have the script page, and on the other side I'd have the storyboards, and that's what I worked from. And basically the movie was shot just like the boards and the script were. And when we edited it edited like in 3 weeks. We basically had the basic cut because we shot the script and the storyboards, and it's amazing that it really worked. I thought, we didn't have to go fix stuff. We didn't have to shoot more. On Reanimator, for example, we shot after we finished the movie. We came back and shot for another 3 days to fix stuff that wasn't in it, and we shot the whole prologue, which we hadn't shot originally, but then it became clear that it was needed. And sometimes the movies just end up being something else. You don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. But with Return to the Living Dead 3, I could show you the storyboard. You'd go, oh yeah, that's the movie. The movie came together very quickly in the editing, which was a guy named Chris Roth edited it. And so it was really turned out as it was planned.
So, and you've already said, it didn't get to a lot of theaters, so it does well on VHS. But when do you know it has a following? Because people really love it today. I know a lot of people say it's like their favorite of the Return of the Living Dead movies.
You don't know until you get a feeling, of course. I mean, I think you've got to know how you feel about it. Mm-hmm. So normally, most of the movies I've made, and especially the ones I've directed, there's many, they can be cringeworthy. They can be painful in parts. Usually I take refuge in the fact that even if the movies aren't very good, I've got something kind of crazy good in it. So I'm always trying to make sure there's something that is just wild. Just you got to see this. And part of that is because I always think that you kind of want people to watch it and then tell their friends, oh, you got to see that scene, because that gets somebody to watch it. But these are not movies that have promotion. They don't have any publicity or anything. They don't have a campaign. These are movies that are just shuffled out there, and if they get watched, it's in spite of the lack of campaign. But so sometimes you feel one way or another about it. So, for example, I can watch these movies and I'll cringe and I'll be embarrassed when I'm watching it. Even if it's just me, I'm not talking about with other people. I'll just feel kind of sad about it. With Return 3, I can't really, when I watch that, I don't really feel like, I feel like it uses the budget well. Within its world, it's pretty consistent, and I don't feel bad about I don't feel like the acting is bad somewhere, or that things just don't make sense, or within its world it kind of holds together a little. I don't know, maybe the barrel zombies at the end could have been a little more imaginative. Maybe that could have been a little, a little better kind of chase at the end through the hallways. Riverman's
really good.
Exoskeleton
Yeah.
is pretty rough, But that was actually a guy named Tom Ranoni, who also did second unit on a lot of movies that I made. He was the effects supervisor. We call him the effects coordinator, because effects guys don't like to have a supervisor.
No, okay.
So he's a coordinator. And what I tried to do, especially after, starting with, I guess, Bride of Reanimator, was with From Beyond, actually, I would hire different effects companies for different gags.
Oh, okay.
Because some people producing a low budget movie have this idea that they say, well, we don't have much money, so what we want to do is give it all to one company so we can give them more money. And I think that's back-asswards, because that company is going to put all their attention on the primo effects, the eye candy, and they're going to, the rest is going to go to the workshop, to the guys in the workshop. So what I would tend to do would have the effects, break the effects up into, kind of buckets, certain effects that kind of fit together. And then the prime one, you want to get the best effects artist you can. So for Return of the Living Dead 3, Julie was the big effect. So we got Steve Johnson to do that. Well, Steve Johnson is a old classic guy who's done everything in effects, and he's really, really good. Well, he can do Julie, which is a big job. She had 6 hours of makeup,
Wow.
But then why give Steve Johnson a guy's head getting cut off? What difference is to him? You want to get somebody who's been working in the shops of all these big guys, who wants to have a credit.
Yep.
He'll do it. He'll pay for it. Give him the stuff. He will do it. He'll work day and night to chop somebody's head off. And K&B is going to throw it away.
Uh-huh.
So you want to, and then who's good at different things? We have a lot of in-camera tricks with Return 3. We've got, hanging miniatures. We have a lot of miniatures and camera tricks in camera, because we couldn't afford to do post-production visual effects. Back then, everything was film, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, and so one of the things that Tom Ranoni did is for the exoskeleton, instead of going to an effect, he talked me into using this guy, what's his name, Rollins, who wasn't an effects guy really. He was a metal worker. And so instead of, if I'd given the gag to an effects company, they would have taken a mold of the body of the actor. Then they would have made a whole like foam body of this guy.
Yeah.
And then they would have modeled carved the pieces of metal,
Mm-hmm.
and poured them, and then they have plastic, and then they would have taken them out, and then they would have painted them carefully to look like iron. And then the actor was then going to have to pretend it's real heavy and hurting him. Well, what Tim Rollins, I think his name's Tim Rollins did with Tom Ranoni, he just did it for real.
Wow.
Well, that shit was cutting into, what's his name? Babakunde was the name of the actor. I was fucking cutting him. He never complained, but he had a lot to complain. That was metal. And of course, when you
That's
look
why
at
that looks so good then. Like, I just thought it was well done.
when you look at it, of course, you kind of feel like wow, this is really highly sophisticated.
Oh, yeah.
It looks so ridiculous. You know, oh, this is the high end, you know, black ops. You know, it's really kind of stupid, but what do you know? But hey, it's there. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, no, I love it. So, I imagine you've had a lot of different feedback about Julie herself as a character. Like, I'm sure there's people just, she's, hot or whatever. But do you get like a lot of people that like the cutting aspect, the piercing aspect? Like, do people have see themselves in that character? Like, how do people take to Julie?
Well, at first, I mean, when we were working on the script, John and I did sort of like field trips. We'd go to these fetish clubs that were, I don't know if they still have them, but they used to have them in LA. And I think there was one called the Club Fuck. And but that's before everybody had tattoos. I mean, there was a time when having a tattoo, you'd lose your job.
Yeah, and I don't think you're in the minority if you don't have a tattoo.
Oh, yeah.
But so we went there because I was trying to figure out, I wanted her to have the scarification. I wanted her to have, I wanted her to have tattoos. I wanted to have piercings. I had seen a girl just down on the corner where I live one morning with her friend, and she without all the piercing and stuff, she was Julie. She had the shorts, the hose that was ripped, the work boots, the red, the tinted hair. And when I saw her, I said, that's how Julie should be. She should be that kind of street character. Because I live in Hollywood, so back then it was all runaways and stuff, people like that, and so but then I wanted her to have all the glass and stuff and have all that stuff, but I didn't know why she would, And so when we were developing it, we went to these clubs and talked to people, because in these clubs they do piercing right on stage. I mean, they have sex in the club, These are pretty after hours type places, but I talked to people and I kind of got a sense of it was sort of an identity thing, because they're a lot of people who do that are they're not like stupid about it. They know they're intelligent people who are doing this, right? It's like someone who's into S&M or something. It's not just a dumb, unthinking thing. It's something that it's sort of an aesthetic, and so that was very helpful. And then when we came up with the idea of the pain, and then I don't know, there was just something that looked cool about her. And it's funny, when we were developing the look for her face and figure out where to put all the glass and stuff, Steve Johnson, at that time, I think he was still married to Linnea Quigley from Return to the Living.
Yeah, she's been on the show many times. So yeah.
As he said he saw that movie and he says, I want that. So he married her. You should actually have Steve Johnson on if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna write that down actually.
But anyway, so he had all these kind of how wig places have a head to put the wig on.
Yeah.
Well, he had about 6 or 8 of those of Linnea Quigley. And then he sat there and we would go through and try different versions. So she was actually the model for the makeup.
I wonder if she knows that.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Yeah, and of course the main thing was that she had the rock and the claws. and I think that's what gives her some. It makes it seem like there's a logic to the whole thing.
Yeah, it's not
No,
just like this looks
It's
cool.
just mindless decoration. You
Yeah.
know, it's that she's got a logic. She does the piercings and stuff to give her pain, to keep her identity. She can, people that do who hurt themselves, who cut themselves, sometimes do it because they have emotional trauma, and they need the pain to put down the emotional trauma. So there is a logic to that. Of course, the way Julie does it is very attractive.
Right.
Yep.
You mentioned Walking Dead earlier, but like a serious question about that. What's that like to so you work in genre films, and then like this zombie thing becomes mainstream. Like you could buy like kids shirts, you can buy lunch boxes with The Walking Dead on it. Is that a positive, or is it, I don't know. How do you look at that? Are you bitter at all about something like that taking off? Or?
I mean, it's none of my business.
Right. It is strange as a whole
of course,
myself,
like everybody, I tend to favor the world that I grew up in. I tend to like most people who make movies try to make movies like the ones they loved as kids. And that goes for the highest end.
I think that's why we see the rise of practical effects, because that's what a lot of people who are making movies now grew up with.
Yeah. But the horror was something different. I mean, horror was at one point, I mean, when I started making movies, horror was kind of one step above porn. You had, because in the markets and stuff, porn was a real business. It's in the 70s, especially, they had porn in regular theaters. Of course, when video started, porn got much more popular, and then the internet. It always starts with sex. Starts the ball rolling, and then any kind of exploitation. I mean, remember in the 80s there were movies like Faces of Death. There were videos that just showed shocking. The manga movies, manga.
Yeah, they were huge.
I mean, of course, a ton of in Faces of Death, a lot of that stuff is fake. But they're selling it like it was real, just like Blair Witch tried to sell it like it was real. And it took advantage of the internet that was just starting.
It was just around enough, I think. I think if it was around too much, everyone would have known it was fake,
And then at one point, the horror was the only place you could see gore. But then in the 80s, all of a sudden, or I guess even in the 70s, all of a sudden action movies started delivering.
They could really get away with more, I think.
Then it was kind of like now horror had to do more. Because it's now, they're taking it. And I think that eventually, the horror just has become a huge business, and it's really ubiquitous. You can't put that genie back in the bottle. I don't know if you want to or not. I find most of it boring, but then I'm an old man. So I kind of like fun horror. I guess fun, entertaining kind of theme park type horror. But not always. I mean, I think The Exorcist, Rosemary's Baby are really great horror movies. But I find most of it dreary, not fun. But then again, I'm that old guy yelling at the clouds. You can't escape who you are.
Did you see Sinners?
When you're old, you're old.
It brings like everything back. It's got a little bit of fun, a little bit of everything going on.
What's that?
Sinners?
Oh, huh?
Sinners, the recent movie Sinners.
Have you seen
Sinners? I haven't seen it. Yeah.
It's really
I think you'd like it. It's really good.
This is Antonio Rotana. Hello from Mexico, or Genital Productions. It's a good name for a company. What happened with Fantastic Factory in Spain? Are those films being re-released in full HD?
Well, it was a good run, the Fantastic Factory. I think I made 10 movies over there. I
Wow.
had my own label. You know, I got to make, especially the first few years, I could do whatever I wanted. Once it started getting successful, you end up, there's a lot of politics that goes along, and the movies started getting, I lost my, I didn't have the control that I had, and so they kind of ended up, kind of not on the highest note. But Filmax, the company that owns all those movies, that paid for them, is still going strong. They're a very strong company now. So it kind of ran its course, and they didn't need me anymore to make movies over there. They had, they were, I helped them start their sales company. Now they're a real big sales company. They're a big company. The movies were all bought by Lionsgate, except for Darkness, which Miramax co-financed, and of the Fantastic Factory, which is my label. And but it was, I kind of feel like the culmination. The idea was at first to try to make I had gone to Sitges, which is a festival just south of Barcelona, with The Dentist 2.
Nice.
Not a great movie. It's got its pictures, and they showed it, and in Europe, these kind of goofy movies that we were making, those kind of movies that we're talking about, are treated like regular movies over there. Here they were just, they're kind of looked down on, but they're like considered like regular movies in a way. And afterwards they have a big press conference and everything. And I was doing that, and a guy came up to me after, this guy Julio Fernandez, and he reminded me that we had met, it must have been almost 10 years earlier when I went to Sitges with Society. And he was with a different company then, and they were distributing it. So we had lunch and everything, and they did. And see, I grew up in Latin America, mostly Nicaragua, Panama, and Puerto Rico. So even though I went to American schools, I learned street Spanish. When I went home, I was in the streets, and I kind of picked up kid slang, which meant that it's not like I really knew grammar or anything. I'm not formally good, but I have a great accent, if you want a Panamanian accent. So it sounds like I'm much more
fluent, yeah.
than I am.
Yeah.
So that really helps somebody like Julio Fernandez, who doesn't speak English. He could talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, I got my own company now. Do you think I could make a movie like that, like The Dentist, in Spain? And I said, in Barcelona. I said, well, have somebody take me to Barcelona and let me see. So I did a tour, and then I said, I said, I think we could do it. I think we should try to make the movies in English. And at first, try to make them so the buyers don't know that they weren't made in LA, fool them. And then after the movies work, we can start becoming much more Spanish or Catalan. It's actually in Catalonia, so it's not even Spain. And so then I went over there, I went back and visited, the sets of different productions, went to labs, and just to see what it was like in Spain. And so I came up with a proposal for them, and we went forward with it, So at one point, at first, like I directed the first movie, it was called Faust, Love of the Damned. And I tried to make it look sort of like tried to make Barcelona look kind of like some kind of American comic book city or something. I even got a DP from the U.S., Jock Haken, who shot Nightmare on Elm Street and The Hidden and other movies. And I got, I think I had Andrew Devoff in it, and I had some British actors, and then we would revoice a lot of this, the other parts, and then after that, I got Jack Shoulder to direct one, a giant alien spider movie that Steve Johnson made the spider. But then eventually the idea was to make them fully Spanish, and also not even in English, because we would get a lot of grief because we were using subsidies in Spain for movies that were in English, and so there was a lot of kind of criticism from Madrid that this was just that there was some studio behind this trying to get subsidies, faking that it was a Spanish company, which was totally wrong. I was the only American there. And eventually I quit bringing anybody from the US over. If I needed, somebody that wasn't Spanish, I'd get them from the UK, because when you bring Americans over, they took so much. You almost had to put people, almost had to give them a driver and a translator. They get real nervous about being in Spain. Whereas the, people from London going to Barcelona is like we go to Tijuana. You do it for the weekend. They're totally cool with going over to Spain or France. Mm-hmm. So it just got to be easier. But finally, and then we started using, Spanish directors and writers, and eventually it was after I left, and they didn't keep up the brand of Fantastic Factory. They made the movie that I think was sort of like the graduation or the thesis, doctoral thesis for the Fantastic Factory, which was Wreck. I don't know if you've seen that. Yeah. That was a movie made by Jaume Balagueró, who also did Darkness. I worked with him on that. It's in Catalan. It takes place in Barcelona. It is what it is, and it's really fucking good. And it was successful, just like J-horror. And I thought that's the culmination of the Fantastic Factory. Now, all those movies, Fantastic Factory did go to Lionsgate, and they just didn't do shit with them, and so they keep them buried. These companies, they have all these movies in their library, and if you want to see what they use them for, just go on the web and go to the website for the Library of Congress. The Library of Congress lists everything under copyright, and when there's liens against it and stuff, and you can look up a movie and see how it's changed hands. And I looked up From Beyond once, because we were trying to see if we could get the sequel rights to it, or get somebody, and I think it's with MGM or something. And these companies, it's not worth their time to put these things out. Their business is to make, Lionsgate business is to make a new Hunger Games, not to crank around with these kind of off the wall horror movies. Well, I looked up From Beyond, and this was years ago, but I remember the last entry was From Beyond and 3,543 other titles being used to collateralize a line of credit from Citibank for the studio. So the movies end up becoming, they're like real estate. Yeah. It's value that you can borrow against. And it's not, but if I owned From Beyond, or had the rights to it, or even Beyond Reanimator, I don't own. And so nobody's seen it. It's not a great movie, but there's some pretty cool stuff in it.
I like it.
I dig it. Yeah.
Necronomicon. If I own that, boy, I think that movie would be popular. Necronomicon. It's not a great movie, but boy, there's some cool stuff in it. It's really good, and it doesn't bore you. Never does it. Do you get bored? Dagon, come on, Dagon's a really cool movie.
I like that one a ton too.
You know, it's buried. You know, so I don't know. I think that's something. If you know, if you're the movie business is a business, of course. And so I know as fans, we just look at it like the stuff we loved, you know, things we like. But ultimately, there's it's a product that's being shuffled around, and there's not a lot of Don Coscarellis out there who owns every Phantasm movie. He's one of the few, you know. In the
Great book, by the way, his autobiography, if you've never read it.
In the 90s, I tried to talk him into us making a Reanimator versus Phantasm movie.
Oh, I would have geeked out totally.
To steer him against the ball.
I love it. Yeah.
And he wouldn't do it. He said he wouldn't do it. And I said,
You would have been pre-multiverse.
This was before Alien versus Predator. I said, we'll be the first.
Yeah.
We'll be the first to do it. And we're kind of almost the only guys that can do it because we own our movies. Everybody else, they made it for the company. They can't touch them, you know. So,
Jeffrey Combs and Angus Scrimm, I would have been in heaven.
Yeah,
that would have
exactly.
been the greatest, you know?
Angus is a great guy. Over on Facebook, Madeline Deering. What happened to the plastic surgeon that never materialized?
Nobody had put up the money. I even went with Corbin to. We went and visited plastic surgeons.
Wow.
Research? Yeah, I love it.
Well, the ideal, Corbin kept wanting to be the dentist again.
Uh-huh.
And then we couldn't get the rights. It just was going nowhere. So we said, well, let's just take that character and do a different profession. We said, oh, let's do plastic surgeon, which is kind of a good idea, except as a horror movie, that you kind of feel like a plastic surgeon horror movie. You should be able to have a lot of fun with weird body distortions. The problem is that horror movies generally take place over a couple days, and there's no time for them to heal.
No, good. That's yeah. You don't get like a nose job, I assume, and then like the next day, you know exactly what it looks like.
But we took liberties. We were
yeah.
That'd be pretty crazy. Yeah. Well, there's more movies. There's more projects that didn't get made than got made.
Oh, I bet.
Well, last week's guest, when he heard you were going to be on, Donald Farmer, he wanted to know when are you going to get back to making movies?
Well, it's hard to. I don't want to. I have criteria now of I kind of want to own it if I make it.
Okay.
And so I've tried. I mean, I've tried to sell a lot of projects, and it's you get the deal, and it doesn't really add up to making it worthwhile. So I don't know. I'm probably I wouldn't do a very good job anyway.
No,
I probably have lost a few steps in the process.
we don't want to hear that silliness here.
Well, nobody does. That's just want to clue you in.
All right. I know we're over what we said, but I just want to ask you a couple quick questions. Was there ever talks to do the fourth Return of the Living Dead, and did you have any idea for it?
Oh, I did. I wanted to do it, but I was never given the chance. They went to somebody in Europe or something. But I wanted to do it. I had an idea of one. It was called Hail Mary, but and it kind of takes off from the third one in the sense that it takes place. It starts out in these punk clubs, and Kurt and Julie are sort of like legends in the.
That would really work.
the offbeat scene. So, but anyway, it was a little bit, it was pretty macabre. But hey, I thought I had a great idea for another Fright Night, and
Oh, really?
yeah,
Fright Night's one of my favorites.
Stuff.
What was your idea for a Fright Night?
Well, I can't go into it.
All right. Fair enough. We'll say that for the next.
No, but I guess the point is, yeah, there's movies that I would have loved to have made, and actually, I've never been. It's a lot of people don't like the idea of doing sequels, but I've never been against it. If I like the original movie, I kind of feel like I'd like to do one, and one that I really lament that I was not able to do because I was all set to do Necronomicon was I think it was Pumpkinhead 2 or 3.
Ooh.
And boy, I wanted to do a Pumpkinhead movie because I think they just didn't do it right. And I really wish that I could have done a Pumpkinhead movie.
You like the first
real
Pumpkinhead?
Southern Gothic, real Southern Gothic, not shot in North Hollywood.
Did you like the first Pumpkinhead?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that movie.
You gotta
Troy
let
does.
it run its course, said Harley. I love that.
Yeah, when we had Lance Henriksen on, I told him that was my favorite movie with him, and he was very excited. But
Yeah.
I love it. So this has been great, and people, if you're out in LA this Saturday, you and Anastasia Elfman, you'll be there. Anastasia Elfman will do a cool burlesque intro, and they will be showing Return of the Living Dead 3 at Shockagogo Festival. I'll have the information on the website. People can click it. And by the way, how good are Richard Elfman's steaks?
Really great. I'll tell you, he touched those big. You should ask Anna to send you some pictures of him and his madness.
I see it. So
I've gone to a Richard Elfman grill before, and he'll be there grilling in full clown costume, including including the big feet and the nose. But he'll get these cowboy steaks, these tomahawk.
Yeah, with the tomahawk.
The ribeyes on a big rib.
Mm-hmm.
And up at his place, he's on his rooftop. He's got a fireplace, and he'll have his fire going, and he'll just take those steaks, get them all. He dry brines them and all that for 24 hours. He'll just throw them right in on the wood, and they cook caveman style. I went to one dinner at his one grill where he did that, and we didn't have utensils, no knife, no fork, and we didn't have glasses. We each had a bottle of wine. We had a plate, and we ate with our hands.
That's awesome.
I'm very jealous now.
Yeah. Entertainment is to be had everywhere.
Yeah. So I my first movie I made with Anastasia Elfman, Endzone 2, and it was in Lake Arrowhead. We rented a Airbnb, the cabin up in the mountains, and Richard was there, and he was going to come over and make grill steaks, but a lot of the cast were vegan, and so it didn't happen. And I was like, I'm not vegan. I want a Richard Elfman.
Anna is a vegetarian.
Yeah. So
when he cooks, he also makes tofu for her.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he could have done that for the rest of the crew.
Exactly. One of these
days.
It
was fun talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Really good time. And we will talk to you again. So have a good weekend at the festival.
Bye.
Best of luck.
All right, that was cool. Brian Yuzna. He's a good guy. Richard
I love
Elfman,
listening to him.
Too. Yeah. Great interview. Thank you, Dave Deadman. Thank you. That was great. That was a good time.
It was.
Yeah, so we got a lot of people coming on the show. You never know we're going to pop up.
Be prepared.
We're normally live Thursdays. Tonight we're Wednesday. Maybe we'll pop up again tomorrow. I don't know. Probably not, but you never know. But I will be back Saturday. Now, I don't know if
Oh.
Troy will be here with me or not, but C. Ernst Harth will be on the show, who plays the great child in the 13 Ghosts remake in the early
too
2000s.
cool.
So
That's
yeah, he's a friend of mine on Facebook and asked about coming on. I was like, yes, that sounds like a good time.
Yeah,
He's
that'll
also
be
in
great.
one of the Scooby-Doo movies and Trick or Treat. But
Oh, no kidding.
yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
that'll be fun. So that'll be this Saturday. He wanted to record it. I was like, do you mind if we do it live? He's like, no. So I was like, well, it's the same idea. Let's just pop on here live. Thanks to people sending questions. I didn't get to all of them. I apologize. In the maybe I'm gonna start this next week. People who send in questions, I'm gonna start keeping your names so we can. It's cool. There's some interaction with the show, and we're gonna start giving away some prizes here on the show. I got some buttons.
Oh, very
here.
nice.
These are some old school buttons. There's like these ones that Troy drew, like a Nasty Neal button. I think we may even have like see, this old school Nasty Neal button. That'll be fun. This is Happy the Ghost button.
Nice.
Then we've got a lot of horror movie stickers. Sometimes people send a movie. So anyway, there'll be some stuff, and all you gotta do is have some interaction here, sending questions. I'll keep your names down, and then we'll pick out a random person, maybe a patch. Well, these patches, these aren't free because these have to go to help fund Arbor Day. So you know what? If you super chat right now, $12, you can get yourself an Arbor Day patch.
Get
that
a
will
patch.
include shipping.
All the cool kids have them.
Exactly. All right. So yeah, I don't know. There's all kinds of people coming on the show. I got an email the other day, Troy, and I was just like, I'm gonna pull this up because I saw this and I was like, absolutely. They're like, do you want this person on the show? It was the movie's called 10 what was it? 10 Toes? No, here we go. Dick Toes.
Oh yeah.
This is all I know about. It's called Dick Toes, a kung fu action comedy horror musical about a private eye with 10 dicks for toes. So I'm like, absolutely.
Oh
yes,
yeah.
This man behind Dick Toes and some vampire ladies, of course, they're going to be on the show. So we'll work that out. How can I turn that down?
You couldn't. There's absolutely no way.
Yes. So we'll be having and our recurring guest co-host Tara Hutchinson, AJ Cutler. They'll be on, whenever they are available. Also reach out. Mr. Michael Epstein will be a recurring guest host with us, and Sophia Casiola. So we'll see when that happens. I probably should ask him tonight because I know he's a big Yuzna fan. But anyway, it's good
All
stuff
good
here.
people.
The Without Your Head family.
Exactly. The ever expanding.
Jittery John's gonna make a return one of these nights. I've talked to him about it. Sure. So it's good stuff. Billy Coyne's giving some advice for Arbor Day stuff. So thanks to Billy Coyne. Shout out to him. He's a good guy.
Hell yeah.
Let's see here. There's a couple things. I don't think I'm going to be on super late. If you don't mind, Troy. But look at this.
No worries. Oh wow. Ooh, I love the play set. That brings back like old great memories,
Yes, so it's got the
all
so
the
at
cool
first
old toys used to have like
yes,
like a put it all together play set type thing.
Yeah, this is like kind of like Yuzna was saying. It's like the stuff you remember growing up with, and then it's like now these people are old enough to make stuff. So boom. So at first I was like, oh, that's cool. They got the family, but where's Sally? But so you can buy Leatherface, you can buy Cook, you can buy 2 different Leatherfaces actually.
Oh yeah.
And you can buy the Hitchhiker. And then you might not be able to see it there, but it says it at the top. With the family dinner playset, it comes with Sally and Grandpa.
Oh my God, that's the coolest.
Yeah, that's great. So you can get Leatherface with his bib on, his smock there, cutting people, or you can get him in his dinner attire. So if you'd want him sitting at the table,
that is too cool. No, I absolutely love that. That's the greatest. That brings back, like I said, like Castle Grayskull, or they had the Bridge of the Enterprise with the Mego like Star Trek figures. And I don't know if you remember, you might have been too young, but Vagina Wrinkle. It had the transporter, and so you'd spin it, and like this little cover would go around the guy, and then when it would finish up, he'd disappear. He'd move to like the back of the transporter. You remember that? Okay,
And
yeah.
I was a big fan actually, because we had the Star Wars. A lot of my toys, since Troy's a little bit older, were like stuff that Troy had and then was handed down to me. So I had some stuff that was from like the 70s, but
We were always good collectors, though. We always took care of our goodies.
yeah, look at that. You can
Ooh.
actually do animated backgrounds now. Now I'm scared, but so the
Give me 2 minutes, Nasty Neal, and I shall return.
all right. So what I was just gonna say was, well, I'll play a trailer here,
Okay, perfect.
but I do want to say, for Star Wars, I really like the playset for the Death Star.
Oh, with
Because
the compactor and stuff?
Yes,
that
that
was
the
the best.
compactor was like little foam trash, and then he even had the monster in there.
Yeah, and he was great because he was just so weird looking.
Yeah.
All right, be right back.
All right. He will be right back. Let's play. Let's see. What do we have here? Oh, Only Fangs. This is a new movie coming out. I believe the people will be on the show. We got a lot of people coming on the show, but let's check this out. Oh, by the way, I just talked earlier to Tommy McLaughlin, the director of Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives, which to many is the best of the whole franchise. I may not agree with that, but he will be on the show, and that's a really cool guest. Trying to do it before Friday the 13th, but if not, it will be sometime this summer, either in June or July. We just started Zombie Month tonight. Next month, we're doing Slasher Month, and he fits either one because you can argue that Jason is a zombie starting with Part 6, and he's definitely a slasher. So he will be on one of these weeks in these coming months.
We are the Monster Boys!
You gotta find a new conspiracy, bro. There's no such thing as monsters.
I don't care what you say. I'm gonna find that fucking monster.
Wes, where are you?
Hello?
What's happening?
Hey, man. Are you alright?
Wes!
I saw a monster hissing me and dead eyes and sharp teeth, and I got it all on video.
Scarlet! And this guy saw me in the park, and he got away.
We'll fucking get him. Nobody will ever hurt us again.
Never again.
Where are you going, Wes?
Oh, shit! My God. You guys are fucking vampires? Awesome!
Awesome?
I have loved monsters my entire life. You could be making so much money. You get bit by a real-life vampire. Dudes will pay big bucks for that. I can design a website and an app. Then me and my friends will take photos of you guys, make sexy videos, and we'll just wait for the subscribers to come rolling in.
You sold me, Wes. But I'm gonna tell you this. Don't fuck with me, or else I'm gonna fuck up your whole fucking life. You got it?
We don't even know these people. They could be psychos and kill us.
Dude, relax. They already promised not to kill us, right?
Oh, no killing? That's the best part!
Do we have a name for the app yet?
Yes, we do. I was thinking, OnlyFans.
OnlyFangs.
OnlyFans. You guys check out that OnlyFans yet?
Are you guys the OnlyFans fans? This is happening. Holy cow! OnlyFans!
Damn, OnlyFangs. Terrible Troy's not back here, but we will add him back in when he returns. But OnlyFangs, I had the couple that makes that movie on for their previous film, which was Murder Size. Most of the same cast were on for that, or in that movie. Kansas Bowling, who is the star of Murder Size, and she is in OnlyFangs. I'm in a movie with her in Psych Wave 2, which is out. You guys can go see that. And also, I'm in her movie Pretty Little Nobodies, which has not been released yet. But I play a serial rapist, kidnapper, and possible killer, not to spoil the movie. Very dark, definitely my darkest role to date, and I'm really excited for that to come out. I'm not sure when that comes out. And also, since I'm the producer, I am obligated to mention that Anastasia Elfman is in End Zone 2 and Once in Future Smash. So you can still get this. You cannot get this limited edition slipcover anymore, unfortunately. But unless you contact me, maybe we'll set something up for a couple bucks. We'll see. I believe there's actually a few of these left. The limited edition VHS of End Zone 2. Boom. All right. Let's see here. Who's going on in chat? We got Vagina Wrinkle. We got Noga Chaser. I still have to send you my movie, Neal. You better do it. Do it. We want to would like to check that out. We're on Kick. Currently, I see there's people posting on Kick, but it's like looks like spam. Vagina. Oh, Noga Chaser's here. Noga Chaser. Got Stuttering John on there. Oddly enough, on my wrestling show, some of the Dabbleverse, not people that knew me from the Dabbleverse, but there's a weird connection there with the Muttering J and stuff. But I haven't seen it yet. Looking forward to it. Oh, bring her back. I really love this movie. So when Troy comes back, we'll talk about this. We went to see it yesterday with our mom. Oh, Troy's back here. Bring her back. We went to see it yesterday.
Oh, my God. What a cool movie.
I love this movie. It's been a really great year for horror movies.
It has.
I can say that a lot lately, last few years. Remember, was it last year? You had Terrifier 3, and there was a lot. What was the slasher movie with Johnny in it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, In a Violent Nature. I don't know. There was so many cool things last year, and this year, I remember when Monkey came out, I was like, oh, this might be my favorite horror movie of the year. And then Sinners came out, and I was like, it's just like a masterpiece. That's Monkey, which I like Monkey, don't get me wrong. Final Destination, Bloodlines is super fun. I don't think it's as good as Sinners, but really fun movie. And then, Bring Her Back, though. I have it right up there, maybe just slightly below, but it's right up there with Sinners.
Yep. And this one was the spookiest movie I've seen this year.
Yeah, this one, there's
straight out like friggin' creepy.
Yeah, it's kind of like crossing some lines you don't expect in a theatrically released horror film, but that's becoming more and more regular. You see a lot more graphic stuff, a lot of taboo stuff that you don't normally see in the theater. But I think pretty soon I won't be able to say that because it just happens quite a bit.
I know now it's going to be like, yeah, we've seen this, so it's not as shocking as it could be. But this one kept me on the edge of my seat. Like everybody's great. The two young actors are so good in it. The woman from Shape of Water, she's fantastic. Just great story. Great effects.
The guys who made that movie, they had their start making like shorts and stuff on the internet on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And then they made what was the movie with the hand?
Oh, that one was so good.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, Talk to Me, which that was like a big surprise hit. Like it kind of came out of nowhere, and I thought, wow, this movie's great. Kind of like it would be like a typical just seemed like a typical like young adult movie, but Bring Her Back, super dark.
Oh,
it deals with missing children. And I don't want to spoil the movie, so I don't really even want to say too much.
I don't
'cause
want to say too much about it.
I would go in not knowing a lot about it because I really didn't know a lot about it. And it's just
That was the advantage of this one too. The trailer didn't show you a ton of stuff.
yeah.
The trailer was real eerie, and this one, like, as soon as you go into it, you're like, "What is going on?"
I would be really surprised if it's not number 1 or 2 on my list by the end of the year.
Same here. Yeah, I gotta pretty much guarantee, unless like just the most insane slew of movies hits
Yeah.
over the next 6 months.
There's no way it'll come out of the top 5, I would say.
Yeah, yep.
Go see it. I know maybe that's not the most in-depth review, but I really feel like if we talk too much about it, it's going to take away from the story. And just the opening, it's brother and a sister. Well, it's like a not even a stepsister, a foster, and she's blind. Something happens to dad, so they have to go to a new place, and that's all I really want to say because it goes down a lot of dark roads, and I kept wondering what was going to happen. And it's a movie you have to pay attention to. I've seen some people say it's a little confusing. I don't think it is, but you couldn't watch it and be like on your phone or playing.
No.
It's not a movie to do other stuff while you're watching. You got to pay attention and follow the movie.
Yeah, get a cup of coffee or something before this one, because it kind of I wouldn't say it's like a slow burn because there's so much happening in it, but like you got to be patient because things they develop as we go along. It was because we had Nosferatu, we had so many great ones last year too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Todd Yeager was also in Psycho Ape 2. It's very true. No dirty movies, Vag. Uh-oh. Yeah, we can't watch that kind of stuff. We're too young.
That's it.
Plus, we'll get kicked off YouTube. But yeah, I highly recommend it. And it's pay attention. It's not okay. There are some. I think Monkey and Final Destination Bloodlines are like fun movies that you could just go. I kind of hate the term popcorn movie, but you could just go and watch them and have a good time.
Yeah,
with a group
just
of people.
Crazy fun horror movie,
Yeah. And some of Sinners I think Sinners is sort of that way, but also there's also a lot more going on in the movie. But this is a movie. I think that movie you should pay attention to. But
this movie's a lot bleaker though. It's
a very bleak movie.
It's somber. Yeah. But like I said, the young people are both so good in it, and actually everybody's real good in it.
Yeah. I sent out the link if people want to pop on and talk horror with us.
Always welcome.
I can find a trailer for Dick Toes.
Oh.
Now, I think if you got a movie called Dick Toes, you really need to get a trailer out for it.
Hell yeah. What were the trailers we saw with
Weapons, which is a movie that people are really talking a lot about. That one looks really good. I think all of them were stuff we wanted to see, to be honest.
Yeah, we saw like 5 trailers and we were like, wow, that looks good. Yeah, that one looks good too.
I saw there's some new horror movies out this weekend. I was thinking about going up to Boston to go see because I don't think there are any ones that are going to be playing for a long time.
Yeah, I can't imagine like The Life of Chuck there is one that's going to be around for a long time.
Yeah, and that's not a horror movie, but it is a Stephen King story.
Yep, I'd like to see it. Like, I doubt it'll stick around for too long.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Tom Hiddleston's in it, and like, it's a King story. It's a cool story.
Yeah, I don't know if they even mentioned really that it's a Stephen King story.
No, I don't think they did. Actually, I don't think I've heard anything about it coming out. It was kind of a shock to me when we saw like the movie poster.
Yeah. So a ballerina, I know it's not horror, but that I guess did that come out this week or last week? But I would
sure.
But there's like some straight up horror. Bring Her Back still playing. Final Destination still playing. Sinners. They don't list Sinners as a horror movie. That was just big on our Facebook group. People want to fight. That's one of the most annoying things in the world to me when people want to argue genre of a movie. But yeah, they were like that it's not even a horror movie, and I'm just like, come on, man.
Nah, just all gangster, like, period piece, like culture movies, like,
Yeah.
they always have vampires in them. It's just one of those things.
28. Yeah, we're gonna go see that. That looks freaking great. I need to
28 years
rewatch the
looks
first
so
two.
awesome.
So there's this movie playing, this weekend. I might go see because I don't think it's gonna have a wide release. Dangerous Animals.
What's that one about?
When Zephyr, a savvy and free-spirited surfer, is abducted by a shark-obsessed serial killer and held captive on a boat, she must figure out how to escape before he carries out a ritualistic feeding to the sharks below. Now that sounds really wild.
Yeah, that's what, like, I never heard anything about.
Let's see. There's an animated one. I think maybe horror. I'm not sure. Oh, there's also
no
the movie
way.
The Ritual. The harrowing true story of the exorcism of Emma Schmidt. Two priests, one questioning his faith and one reckoning with the troubled past. Played by Al Pacino.
Wow.
Little known
That's probably
actor.
worth going to see just to see Al in it.
Yeah. Must work together to perform a series of terrifying exorcisms to save the young woman's soul. Guest under 17 must be accompanied by a guardian who is 21 or older. Damn.
Wow. All right, I'd go see that one then.
It's not rated. I thought you have to be 21 to see unrated. You can't be.
No, you technically you have to be 18, but
but if you're under, I see.
But as it when it first was back in the 80s, like with Maniac, you had to be 18 or over. That's it. Right now, some of the chains have done a deal, I guess, with the MTA.
I see. So your mom.
You have to be. We are basically who I work for are treating unrated as if it's an R.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to have
I
a
can
parent.
see that on a horror movie. But it is weird because like NC-17 could also be like, or unrated could not quite like porn, but like it would be weird like if your parents bring you to see like almost a porn movie.
Well, trust me. Like I know I shared the story once where a gal who was probably in her early 20s walked into the theater with a little line of like 12, 13-year-old boys, like 5 of them, to go see 50 Shades of Grey.
Wow.
It was like,
Hey, everybody.
Anthony Jobo, what's up?
I'm good.
Hey, I wanted to ask y'all. I mentioned it in the comments. I just saw.
Hey,
it this
Todd, how you
afternoon.
doing, buddy?
I am adequate to the occasion.
great.
That's what I always say. How are you?
I'm great. I saw Karate Kid Legends yesterday.
Nice.
Oh, very good.
People are liking it. I saw today Friendship.
Wow.
I've heard really great things about this.
It's incredibly awkward. It's uncomfortable. It's great. Because
I'm doing
they
good.
trick you a little bit with who is actually the off-kilter guy, and then when it kind of happens, it just gets snowballs. So it's good.
Yeah.
Bring her
interesting.
back. That's the one I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
I'm going to
If you
wait
wanna
till
get
I can.
spooked out, Anthony. Go see. Bring her back.
I will see it when it comes on streaming. I just saw the trailer for Wicked for Good. OMG, that looks good.
What is it?
Wicked for Good.
I'm
I haven't seen that trailer yet.
It's good. I just did a reaction to it.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
sounds good.
For all those for people looking for stuff to revisit, I'm a big fan of director Christopher Smith. I have everything he's done, and I was so thrilled when Severance.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
I gotta see that. I gotta see that movie. I'm looking forward to the Toxic Avenger remake on my B-Day.
I got to see that 2 years ago.
Yeah, Todd got to review it for our site when it played at
the Arrow.
Was it Beyond Fest?
Yeah, in Los Angeles, and I'm really proud that Macon Blair said he really appreciated my review. So
nice.
You know what? I actually had Chris Smith on the show back in the day for this movie.
Wow.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I like your shirt, Troy.
The
I
black
like your shirt, Neal. Reanimated. I just seen that.
Yep.
I like Barbara Crampton. Barbara Crampton's a lovely lady. I interacted with her on Instagram.
Yeah, she's great. So I did it was, what was it? Scream Queens panel once, and she was
Green
on.
Queen. I love some Green Queen. Hey, Troy, you gonna make my shirt, buddy?
And so I asked her what her
Yeah.
favorite reaction, what her favorite part of the convention was. And
What
she
was
said-
it?
She said, "Right now, talking to you," and gave me a hug. And I was like,
I would love to meet. I would love
I
to
was a
meet
little
Barbara
envious.
Crampton
I
one
was the
day.
camera.
You know, Catherine Corcoran's my friend in real life. She's my
really?
real life friend, Catherine Corcoran, the lady from Terrifier.
"Oh no, tell her to come on the show."
I will. I will.
Alright.
You know, so I'm doing good and everything. I stayed home. It was hot in New York. I'm doing you guys tomorrow.
Hell yeah!
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
you should have came out when we were doing Our Man Funk. We had we needed some extras. Not even just extras. You could have actually interacted quite a bit.
Oh,
So maybe next time. Maybe next time.
Saloon
You know.
13.
My Instagram's always up. You know.
Yeah,
If
Lucky
you need
13.
me.
You know where that is? Lucky 13
In Brooklyn.
Saloon?
Brooklyn.
Yeah, that's where we filmed part of it.
Yeah, so I'm trying to do the 4-part biopic, the Anthony Chabot saga. I want to get Nancy O'Dell to play my mom.
Hell yeah,
I want to play myself, but they're gonna de-age my face a little bit.
man! You got to get some effects in there.
Just saw the trailer for Dangerous Animals look good. Dave, I saw the trailer for Wicked for Good. It had me on my tears. You know, I was crying during the trailer reaction to that.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I have a quick little Terrifier story. A gal came into the
Sure.
theater. Gal came into the theater one night, and she was like, "Have you seen it yet?" And I said, "Oh, I'm not really a fan. I kind of find them redundant." And she goes,
I gotta
"Oh,
show
I'm
that
good."
to my mom, Terrifier. My mom hated it. I showed her the movie Exorcist Believer today, and she hated it.
It was a pure flicks piece of shit, is what Exorcist.
My mom
Believer
hated it.
was.
My mom doesn't like the Blumhouse
I haven't
movies.
seen it.
Our
No,
mom,
it's just-
took her friend Linda to go see Terrifier 3. I
It's
was like,
all
don't bring her
they
to
all
go see that.
preach you. Oh, but
I
you
love
gotta believe in
Terrifier movies.
Jesus. You gotta believe in Jesus through the whole thing. I'm like, stop it. But for Terrifier, the girl was like, "Have you seen it?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm not a fan of Terrifier films. They're kind of redundant to me." And
I gotta
she
show
goes,
my
"Oh."
mom that once wherever we can. I gotta show my mom like certain horror movies. Mom's never a fan of trauma. I met Lloyd Kaufman years ago.
Lloyd's a good guy. So what?
Lloyd's a
what was
great
her
guy,
reply
man.
to Terrifier being redundant?
I don't know. I
She
don't know. Good
named the
question.
director and said, "So and so's a friend of mine."
Oh,
Catherine Corcoran.
I'm a big fan. I know Vagina
I
Rings
was
on
like,
the Shed is too.
I
We
said,
have
"Oh
fun.
well, you know,
Terrifier.
I don't like them."
Anthony
I tell
made
him to
his
see.
escape.
No,
I said, "See Circus of the Dead" instead.
Oh, there you
I
go.
like Circus of the Dead too.
That's
So
true.
they're doing the reason we're doing Zombie Month, not because I like zombies, but at the Coolidge Corner Theater, which is up in Brookline near Boston, if everyone's in there, all month long for their After Midnight series is zombie films. And so Friday is REC3.
Nice.
That's a very
I didn't know there was a 3.
I didn't know there was a third one.
No,
Me
me either.
I'm kind of interested. Tomorrow. Oh shit! Saturday is Dawn of the Dead, the original, the real Dawn of the Dead with Ken Faree in person.
Oh, no way. Oh, that's bitchin'. That's awesome.
Damn, I'm gonna have to go to that.
Oh man,
sweet.
Yeah, I'm still a big fan of the slow-moving zombies myself.
Yep.
Yeah, but they work in Return of the Living Dead, I think.
Well, Return of the Living Dead, I don't really consider part of the Romero line.
Oh, I don't either, but they're still
Yeah,
zombie movies.
It was I'm ones that and the whole thing about brains.
They were never even part of the
no,
besides like getting killed, but yeah, that really put brains on the map.
What was I watching recently where they had a whole zombie thing and said, well, what is it about the brains? And apparently it was the brains, you absorb their
Well, Brian
essence, their
used
life. And
Yeah, Brian Yuzna he talked about it, why he put it in, he tried to make sense of it in part 3, like it, relieved the pain and stuff. And then next Friday, this is always fun. If you're in the area, they do in the Rocky Woods. So they show 2 movies in the woods by a cabin in a lake. And so this time this is a very strange double feature, but it's the original Friday the 13th from 1980 and then the reboot from 2009, which is not particularly great.
No.
Yeah, I can't say I'm a huge fan of either movie, to be honest.
Well, what gets me about the remakes, and my whole spiel when I mention it, it's like the remake of My Bloody Valentine, the remake of Friday the 13th. They think that somehow either modernizing it or making it better is just by throwing in more tits. And I think that's more of a distraction to keep you from realizing, this one's not as good. Oh, tits.
A lot of those 2000 horror movies are, to me, it's my personal taste, they're like too pristine. They're not very gritty. They're just
there's not a rough edge to them.
Yeah, they're very glossy.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
They're also showing Zombie 2 at midnight, which is pretty amazing.
Cool.
In 35 millimeter. Day of the Dead is the best. I do not agree. I love all the first trilogy, Night, Dawn, Day, but I have to say Dawn is the best, or is the best zombie movie ever made. But Day is cool too. I like Day.
Dawn is my jam too.
I got to see Day of the Dead at the Varsity Theater in St. Louis, and I remember I was like, oh. But I'm one of those people that revisiting it, I realized how much better.
Yeah, actually, as a kid, I did not like Day of the Dead at all, to be honest.
Oh my God, you were a kid.
I like it now. So
I was already like 20. No.
But we'll actually next week we're gonna have Jim Crute on the show. Is it next? Yeah, I think it's next Thursday. Who played the helicopter zombie in Dawn of the Dead.
Oh, that'll be fun.
We always used to yell out Herman whenever, because he looked like Herman Munster.
And this may not be everyone's favorite zombie movie, but I think it's going to be a fun guest. We will have Jason Jackanen from Poultrygeist Night of the Chicken Dead.
Nice. Awesome.
I have it, but
I'm a
because
fan.
when I worked at Borders at the time, we would get the special 2-disc editions and stuff from Troma, and I was like, oh, I guess I gotta have it. So yeah,
I actually thought it was the best Troma movie at that point in time in quite a while, because there was a lot that were not particularly good, and I thought that was kind of like their comeback.
Like everybody thinks Tromeo and Juliet is so great, but I think that's only because Lemmy was in it. I really did not like it, but that's me. So they're hit or miss with me.
Yeah, I had fun though. I was at Troma Studios for the first time when we were doing funk.
Yeah, that had to be cool.
Bub is great. I'm a fan of Bub, but I'm not knocking Day of the Dead. Don't get me wrong, but Dawn is the superior film. Is all I'm gonna say.
Well, I still recommend Anna and the Apocalypse to everyone.
I love Anna and the Apocalypse too. I got to see it
festival cut.
Yeah, I get to see it at Fright Fest in London. That was cool.
It's just the songs were great for one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I didn't expect that. I really
you remember like a lot of these musicals, these stuff. I like Wicked. I can't remember a goddamn song from that movie except for popular. That's the only word. But otherwise, Anna and the Apocalypse, the songs were great.
Oh yeah, they stick with you too. You're right.
Yeah, they're very catchy.
Yep.
Very catchy. Hey
She
guys,
can come on. If she doesn't want to be on camera, she can just talk to us. That's fine.
Of course.
I want to throw in another one.
Bub is up there for the best zombie. I will give her this. The effects in Day are better than Dawn because the blood is a little iffy, but the movie is so good that you overlook that. Yeah. And I'm sorry, anyone from Day of the Dead, the acting is far superior in Dawn of the Dead. Day of the Dead is very over the top acting, which is fun, but
for me, it's more rewatchable than Day of the Dead. Dawn of the Dead, I guess, because of the whole mall thing, makes it fun. Day of the Dead is so contained that it's
No, I just think Dawn's just a better movie.
Yeah, it
but
is.
I like Day. I liked it. It has. I think all three really work well together.
Oh yeah.
With the continuation. Then after that, it kind of like
the original was also one of those. This film does not have any graphic sex, but due to its graphic nature, no one under 17. So I remember a friend of mine was old enough. I was 1 year shy, so we could not get in. But then when it turned up 6 months later as a midnight show, I knew the theater that it was showing at would not check very well. So we just got my aunt and my friend to buy tickets. Then we dropped her off at home. And then I have snuck into, yeah.
It's the first movie I have a memory of seeing is Night of the Living Dead, Drive-In. I was probably 4 or 5 with Troy was probably, then that would make him probably 13 or so. Yeah. And our mom. And so I get upset when the pickup truck, blows up and they're eating the people. And then our mom turns to me and said, "Oh, they're just having a picnic." And then I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, then he was totally cool with it. He was like, "Oh, all right.
Your mom's cool."
So yeah, a few years ago, before I knew you, Todd, I did. I had Anne and the Apocalypse night on the show. We had 3 guests.
Man, I'm sorry, I didn't get to see that one. I adore that movie so much. I can't. It's one of those ones I can rewatch, and there's never any slow parts for me to want to kind of zip through. I take the whole thing in.
You guys better ease up on Day. I'm not knocking Day. I'm just saying Dawn is far superior.
Oh, yeah.
Far superior. I'm not trying to be mean here, but
I think one of the most maligned zombie films, I really wouldn't call them zombies, is called Autumn. I don't know if you've heard. It's based on
familiar, but
it's based on a short story, and basically the zombies all just stand still through most of the movie, and then later on they start to move, and you could walk around them no problem, but then they all collectively start to become aggressive, and people trashed it so bad. But I really enjoyed it because I read the short story long before it turned into a movie. And when I saw it was a movie, I had to check it out and I was not disappointed. It's more esoteric. So I think that's why people didn't fall for it. But yeah, it's just called Autumn.
Yeah, I've not seen that.
No, that one's so familiar to me, but I just can't place it.
You've probably seen the artwork for
Maybe.
it. But it's one that just kind of slipped out. And for some reason, people, jumped on the bandwagon. If somebody important said, "Oh no, it's stupid," everybody else felt they had to say it was too. And I don't care. I still really think it's pretty cool, an underrated little movie.
So also next Saturday for I love the Coolidge and Mark Anastasia who runs it. And I know he'll always play The Descent during Vampire Month, and his explanation is that The Descent is a vampire movie if you take away the supernatural elements, which I think is an interesting take. I disagree, but it's interesting. This one, he has Evil Dead 2 for Zombie Month. Are they zombies?
Yeah, I don't know if the dead.
Aren't they actually like possessed?
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah.
So I guess you could argue their body is a zombie host of the. I don't know. I would say no.
Yeah.
28 days later, and that I just stamp my feet when I hear people call them zombies because they were just infected. You could shoot them in the heart. You could shoot them in the stomach. They'll die. They were just infected.
Yeah. Well, I think even the people who make it say they're infected on zombies, but
they do. But people, they grab onto one word and they won't let go.
The following week is 28 weeks later.
Yeah. I mean, I'll definitely see that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the first two.
Oh, wow. Oh, Vagina Wrinkle, Shannon out there. If you can make it to Boston, I'll come too. On the 21st at Brookline, Troy.
What do they got?
At Coolidge after midnight is Day of the Dead.
Oh.
With actor Terry Alexander in person.
No way. Oh, that's tremendous.
All right. Now, if we all go, don't mention that I said there's some overacting in the movie.
I'll be right back.
But
I will always love who is our. We had him as a guest. The guy that's the military.
Choke on him.
Oh, he's just tremendous in it. He's so over the top. He's so great. He was even like that as a guest. He was like completely over the top and crazy.
I tried to get him on the show Bub on the show multiple times, and he was going to do it a few times for whatever reason. It never worked out. Joe Pilato. I'll send you the link of Vagina Wrinkle if you like. We have it's a really long interview with Joe Pilato. It's very fun.
Yeah, and he's just crazy. He's just like all caffeinated and just nuts all the time.
Yeah, or something. I don't know if it's caffeinated.
Yeah,
something. Bride of the Reanimators on the 27th. I wish I would have known that when Yuzna was on. Oh, interesting. That last weekend, the 27th of this month, is Bride of Reanimator, and then followed Saturday by Return of the Living Dead 3.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's pretty wild.
Ogre is not in Day of the Dead, Vagina Wrinkle. She's just wanting all her crushes at this show. Bub's not there either. What's it? I forget Bub's name back. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'll try to get him on actually. He was getting scheduled twice before, but something always came up for some reason. And for people who don't know, our original show, the very first episode, the original guest that was scheduled was Bill Heinzman, the zombie in Night of the Living Dead. And it's not that it didn't work. It's not that he canceled. He lived out in like a farm or a ranch in the middle of nowhere. And this was back when we used Skype and we'd call people's landlines, and then we just couldn't get connection. So it ended up being Sid Haig as the first guest on with that.
I remember doing the pen and ink of that guy.
Yeah, so we actually still do have the caricature for Bill Heinzman and for Sid Haig.
Well, Sid Haig, they took an excerpt of a long interview he did. The current issue of Delirium magazine has a whole Sid Haig thing, talking mainly about Spider Baby because the cover story is.
Nice. Yeah, we actually talked about Spider Baby in the interview. Someone actually did clip that recently. Maybe I don't think it was that, but someone had clipped him from our old interview for something else. Someone sent it to me the other day. But that was cool. See, something I'm working on with AJ Cutler. Actually, all three of us will be working on. So up until 2019, the show was audio only, and besides like some interviews like I recorded in person at conventions, it's all audio. So me, AJ, and Troy are working together. This was AJ's idea to do some animated interviews of the older interviews.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, it'll be cool.
Do you have like a program for that? I guess.
Yeah. So, but it's going to start with pen and ink of Troy. There actually be hand drawn pictures, but then the process is I'll scan them, and then AJ uses the program to actually move the mouths and stuff. But it'll start with hand drawn art.
A friend of mine has insane phone conversations with his mother, and he uses an animated AI to go along with the audio. Oh God, I think if you look up Chuck Pennington on YouTube, holy crap, his mom is just, you wouldn't believe. So watching the animation along with the audio is just pretty cool.
I like the idea. It just sounds like a really cool thing. I like.
It's easier for people who don't have the means otherwise to kind of get more out there because that even though it's AI, the animation will give it a punch and will get it out there better. I'm sure.
Well, the only AI part of this animation we're doing is because it'll be like actual art that Troy draws.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he really considers AI, but because Troy's here's the technical side. He has to draw all like 9 shapes of the mouth for each of the different sounds. So the program will know that it'll be the blah, 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 but it's not necessary. It's not like the artwork will be created by AI. It'll be actual artwork.
At least Todd and I, we have mustaches to we can cover.
It's funny because I used to trim it above my lip, and I don't know why I kept doing that because I always wish I had a fuller mustache. And now that I just let everything go, my mustache is pretty damn cool. So
Yep.
I need to start doing, this thing. But
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
yeah. But
we'll get some mustache wax. We'll come in the double dollies.
One Cut of the Dead. Yeah, that's a good zombie movie too for modern
yeah,
ones.
yeah. That I got that before Shudder put it out.
Yeah,
And,
it was big amongst my friends at festivals.
That was a good one. Yeah,
I liked it too.
Preach it.
Yeah, sitting there, not
you,
zombies. Just
Shannon.
talk about the infected. I'm sorry if I missed some of these questions here. One Cut of the Dead. Yeah, we. I thought Dave said it first, but Vagina Wrinkle brought it up.
They're both right.
I still. What was the one about the gal that fell in love with a zombie? Was that called Warm Heart?
Warm Bodies.
More Bodies. I picked that up on Blu-ray because it had a nifty new cover. I didn't have it on Blu-ray, and that was really kind of a nifty little movie.
I never saw it.
It's
definitely
absolutely
original.
different.
Yeah.
It was very different. Yeah. Here's Luddite. Hey.
When evil lurks. You know what? You could argue maybe, but I think it's more of a possession demonic movie. But I love that movie. That was my favorite of that year.
Second Sight is putting it out on I think it's an all region Blu-ray in a box thing, and it's like $50.
Oh.
So I really want it, but bills. Warm Bodies, yes.
Yep.
Luddite Supreme.
Hey.
What's an underrated horror movie for you, Mr. Luddite? Or just one that you like?
Skylar 3, it's dumb, but it's fun.
All right. Well, I know Return of the Living Dead 3 is your favorite of the Return of the Living Dead movie.
Yeah, the Return one.
Yeah,
Zombies,
that's because
my
you
favorite
find.
of them.
I think Troy. The reason is he finds the girl sexy.
Well,
That's the old Ronnie Hex thing.
it's a love story.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
He's trying to hurt him, and she's gonna find about it.
He's got that Shakespeare heart, that Luddite.
Yeah, it's the classic retelling of Romeo and Juliet.
Well, hey, I forgot I was in a sort of zombie movie.
Oh.
Toilet Zombie Baby Strikes Back.
I dig it.
Sweet.
It was a zombie, and it wasn't. I tell people it's not what you think. It was left in the toilet. It travels through the plumbing. That's why it's a toilet zombie baby. It jumps into toilets and can turn up the other side of town or something. But yeah, that was a zombie movie.
We watched it was like that, remember, Neal?
I still, if anybody's in for
Dead
more
Meat,
of an Asian zombie thing, check out Empire on Netflix.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Train to Busan, but
Well, same, it's another Korean thing, and it's like 2 seasons and 1 standalone movie, but it's like a period piece. The zombies have a different take than most of the time that you see them. Really, really cool.
They kind of
I
reminded
can't
me
recommend
though
it a
of
lot.
Train to Busan's reminded me of World War Z's.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
what I always liked about Train to Busan and didn't understand why you would do an American remake is a part of what that makes that movie unique is it's a culture that doesn't have guns. So it's like, how do you combat the zombies without just everyone having a gun to shoot in their head? So I thought that
Although
was
didn't they have guns in the sequel?
Sequel I didn't like as much, but
Yeah,
I love
No,
the
I
prequel.
didn't like it. I didn't like it. Yeah.
No, I didn't
Soul
like it
Station,
either.
the animated one, is awesome. It is it's got such a great twist. Just a really, really cool
Now,
movie.
would you consider the sadness a bit? I did not care for the sadness.
I
you
love
didn't?
this.
I really dug it too.
That's one of my. That was one of my favorite. That might have been my
I
favorite.
guess it was
of that year.
overhyped. It was overhyped.
I
to me,
loved it.
so I
Now
went in-
it's also 30 days and stuff where they're infected, but I think it's a
Right.
great movie.
Yeah,
I love
it
it.
was. I think people talked it up so much to me, and I was like, okay, I'll watch it. I ordered the Canadian Raven Banner Blu-ray because it wasn't available here yet, and I just kind of went, oh.
Oh, you
man,
see, when I
loved it.
saw it,
thought it was
I
great.
didn't hear anything about it. And I was
Yeah,
just
me
like, oh my
neither.
god.
Yeah, see, that probably
movie
would have
rocks.
helped.
Yeah.
I didn't either. It was Raven Banner sent it
Oh.
to me, and we had the director on.
good. I can't remember whether it's Korean or Japanese, but Zombie for Sale.
Okay. Yep.
God, that was so fun.
I agree, Vagina Wrinkle. I loved it too. So this is big news apparently. I'm not overwhelmed by this news, but Blumhouse has acquired the franchise rights to the Saw films. I'm not a big Blumhouse fan for the most part. Every once in a while I want to pop up and surprise me, but for the most part, like
we just need more Saws, that's all.
Yeah,
I like
on both of them.
Saw X was actually probably my favorite Saw movie. Well,
Saw, they're gonna do Saw in the Hood, Saw Bloodlines, Saw in Outer Space.
In outer space, yep, that's what we need.
I really liked the last one. I thought it was good. But yeah, Blumhouse buying it. Apparently, Saw 11 was going to be coming out in September, but it's been pulled from release.
Amityville Saw.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's all we need. Oh man.
People are always post like their like when the new Bloodlines came out, they're like, here's not new Bloodlines. When the new Final Destination came out, like here's my list of in order, blah blah. So I asked people to list all their favorite, like the definitive list of Amityville movies. So I wanted like a top 65, but no one.
I could have been in Amityville Karen, but I didn't want to drive to San Diego, and there was some few giggles in that. I got it mainly because my friend Mike Ferguson appeared in that one, and
he's a good guy.
I'm gonna watch anything Mike's in. Hey, Mike, I'm still waiting for that script you told me you wrote a part for me. So, hey, Mike, he's out there.
They could put Saw on a boat and call it Seesaw.
I love it. That's awesome.
I
totally
can't believe
down.
I never saw that.
That
one
could be
coming.
our Saw Shark movie, Seesaw.
Oh
Good
my
to see
God.
Shannon here. Shannon's a good man. Shannon Wallen.
Yeah, Dead Meat. I bought that on
I remember
DVD when
that
it
one.
first came out, and I enjoyed it, but at the same time, I was kind of wondering why I was enjoying it. It was kind of odd to me, but I guess it's the accents. I'm a sucker for, those European, Scottish, Irish.
I don't know if this is a real person on Kick or if it's a bot, but good morning. This is our first show. We're also streaming on Kick. But anyway, we're normally live on Thursdays at 9. So if that was a real person, and if not, you're free to join this bot every Thursday.
Thanks you.
Hey,
we love a good bot. Come on in.
Before we get back to the zombies, I must do my plug because Astral Plane Drifter, folks, is going to be screening at like 5 screenings coming up in New York.
Oh,
Anybody
that's so
in the
cool.
New York area, and I hope Bill Whedon, I told him, I don't know how far
Oh, you better
Woodstock
get up
is
there.
from where it's going to be, but anybody in New York, check astralplanedrifter.com. Scroll to the bottom. There's screenings coming up. I mean, I think he said 5 in New York.
Oh, wow.
So, and anybody in the Coachella Valley, Los Angeles, please come to the Redlands on June 12th and Glendale June 26th, and I think Long Beach on July 19th.
Nice.
So, Astral Plane Drifter. I have 2 roles in this movie, as Mike would always remind
Bragger.
me.
The humble.
No, that's very cool. Now, have you seen this, Troy?
Oh, what do we got?
Oh,
What do we
there
got?
it is.
Oh, I can't wait. I am so
I had
eager.
determined that the memory of my evils should die with me. Some of what I will tell you is fact. Some is not. But it is all true. What manner of creature is that? What manner of devil made him? I did. I had a vision. An idea took shape in my mind. Inevitable. Unavoidable. Until it became truth. In seeking life, I created death.
I am totally down for this.
Let me guess, it's the new Pippi Longstocking.
It is. It is.
I would like to see
Oscar
that.
Isaac's a sexy bitch, and he's
Make a
he's
horror
mad.
movie out of her hair, man.
I am
No,
down
that
for
looks.
that. That looks.
I
good
had
to me.
that's the first time I've seen that
You'll
trailer.
see the death.
I can't wait.
Yeah, and Del Toro. He's a perfect guy to make. You know, an actual Frankenstein movie. You know, he wanted to make Creature from the Black Lagoon. They wouldn't let him. So.
Oh,
Fucker.
My only thing I want to say is I would like to see it in the theater. I know it's gonna be on Netflix. That's cool. And I know sometimes the Netflix movies will have a limited run at the theater. Like I saw
I hope
Irishman
this
at the
one
theater,
does.
so I hope it has at least like a short run because I would like to see it on the big screen.
It
I'll
looks like
see it.
it's kind of made for the big screen. It just,
Oh,
you know,
definitely.
with just
Definitely.
everything going on.
And I'm glad that they spent time in the you know, up in the frozen up north. Because that's a lot of times overlooked in a lot of the film versions.
Well, you saw that TV series called The Terror.
Oh,
Yeah, that's great.
At
Such
first,
a
that
great
whole
one.
snow thing was holy shit. That was
Yeah.
amazing. But
I never
think
saw
it's,
the second
spooky fucking
season.
thing.
Was
It's
about
pretty
the
good.
second season was quite different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
but-
pretty good too, though.
Yeah, and as far as Del Toro, a lot of people I think were mean to Crimson Peak, but I guess
Troy
because the
loves
movie
it.
wasn't
I love
scary,
me
it wasn't
Crimson
supposed
Peak.
to be scary. It was more, and so I think I think that one is underrated, and I have the deluxe Arrow box thing of that too.
Hiddleston's king in that one.
Oh, it's a feast. It's amazing. But people hated it for, I guess they were expecting scary, and it really wasn't supposed to be. And Pinocchio, I saw that one. I guess when it had a quick thing in the theater, I missed it. Even
Yeah, I
at
didn't
mine.
see it at the theater either.
Troy
Right.
and I went to go see it. Remember, and we sat at the theater. That was at that cool theater, and we sat there, and it never came on. And they came in, and they're like, "Oh," and then they kept trying, and it just would. And then they
would
gave us
never
free
boot up.
popcorn, and they gave us our money back, but we never got to see the movie.
I had to get the Criterion in order to see
Okay.
it. Went straight to Criterion, basically. So, but yeah, well, this one looks good, and I guess I'll still be surprised by it because the trailer didn't give you enough. to
Yeah,
really-
they snuck it in on you, you know. Just
It didn't, so you couldn't really connect the dots that well. It just kind of was quick. Yeah, I really appreciate.
I never did see the new Wolfman. I heard almost nothing good about it, but I started to see some people like it lately, so I do need to watch it.
I almost picked it up on DVD, but it was too. They wanted like $17 for the DVD, and I thought, why? So I just got my Spectrum now has a Zumo streaming box. That's the way it's going. And on Peacock, I think it was Peacock, Wolfman was on that. So I got to watch it. It was entertaining. I don't understand why there was so much hate, but no, it's not the most amazing. And wasn't that a Blumhouse? Am I
I
wrong?
believe so.
It might have
Yeah.
been. I'm not sure.
Maybe
and
it was Universal, I guess.
it was entertaining. I'd say give it a watch. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I definitely need to
anything-
watch it. I just for whatever reason I didn't see it at the theater. I don't know.
In a way, it kind of almost reminded me of The Beast.
Oh,
Within,
Beast
the
Within?
recent Beast
Yeah,
Within.
yeah.
It kind of, but Beast Within, of course, had a different reveal. But yeah, if you like
enjoyed that
Wolfman
one.
movies, although Werewolves, the Frank Grillo one.
Yeah, I heard that was horrendous.
Oh,
it
it's
looked pretty
well.
poor.
Watch it for dumb fun. Have some beverages, whatever. It's ridiculous. But I didn't regret buying it. I paid like $12 for it on DVD, and I was like, okay, that was stupid, but I don't regret it.
So,
well, guys, I got to take off.
All right.
Okay.
It's
All
right.
right. I will see you tomorrow. Oh, I don't know if I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe we'll see you tomorrow. But I do before you go, I have just one thing. Because they started doing this, and I don't know how I feel about it. Part of me is like it's cool, but part of me is like I don't want people competing. I don't know. But for whatever reason, now they like rank the like the chatters.
Oh, okay.
Give a shout out to the top 3 chatterers of tonight. Number 3, Bobby Lowe's Everything, I think, or Bobby Lowe's. I don't know, Bobby. We'll just say Bobby. Number 2, Todd Quality Yeager.
What?
And the number 1,
me,
numero uno,
right, is Dave Deadman.
Of course. Number
But
one in our heart.
Vagina Wrinkles said a lot more than I did.
I know,
so
she's way down at 6.
I mean,
Wow.
not that I don't deserve it, you know.
Exactly.
So I guess
like
the
the little-
Vagina Wrinkle, she's got to up her game next time. All right, we'll be back.
Request and state note.
Todd, you're number 2 because you try harder.
That's right. God damn it. That's Todd Quality.
We'll be back. I'll be back Saturday with C. Ernst Harth, who played the great child in 13 Ghosts. That'll be a cool interview. And then we'll be back live next Thursday with Jim Crute from Dawn of the Dead, the helicopter zombie. And who knows when else will pop up.
A request for you. Are you? I don't know if you've ever had him, but please get Laurie Brewster, X Studios, and the new Amicus.
Yeah, he
they've
blocked
got
me on
several-
blocked me on Facebook, so he will not be on the show.
Oh well, then I'm sorry.
All right, no problem, no problem, no problem.
Oh my God, that's so weird. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
okay. It's all right.
I feel bad.
All right, till next week, it's Nasty Neal.
Todd Quality Yeager and the rest. Ludite.
And Ludite Supreme, Terrible Troy. Boom.
Yep.